Hey everyone, welcome back. I know you're all here to get a grasp on this whole crazy world of LLMs. And it really is crazy, right? I mean, seriously, it feels like every time I open Twitter, there's like 5 new things I got to wrap my head around.
Yeah, it's been nuts. And it doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon either. That's kind of why we wanted to do this deep dive, help everyone make sense of it all. So
Yeah.
we've been digging through articles, comparisons, even those official updates, like straight from the companies themselves.
Right. We're talking Google Gemini, the big one, obviously, and ChatGPT, everybody knows them. But also Claude and Perplexity, those are getting interesting.
Absolutely. And then there's this whole other side of things that's exploding, all the free alternatives.
Oh, yeah, those are getting seriously good, like
Yeah.
way faster than I think anyone expected. So today, the mission, if you will, is to figure out like what are these companies actually offering? What do their features actually do? What's changed just in like the past few months up to March 2025? And of course, how much is this all going to cost me?
Exactly. We want to give you the info so you can see what makes sense for you, whether you're using this stuff for work, for personal projects, or even if you just want to, be in the loop and not get totally left behind.
Okay, so let's start with the big dogs, the ones everybody's talking about, the paid providers. Google's been, I don't know, everywhere lately, especially with Gemini. They're really going all in on making AI just like a normal part of using their tools.
Yeah. And that's what makes Google's approach so interesting, right?
Okay.
They're not building something completely new. They're weaving it into what you already use every day. Like, think about Google Workspace. You're probably in Gmail, Docs, Meet all the time.
Mhm.
Well, starting back in January, they brought Gemini right into those apps.
Right, like right there in the side panel, you've got help me write for emails, AI suggestions in docs, even note-taking in Meet. And this isn't some like limited trial. This is just part of their workspace business and enterprise plans now.
And those plans did get some pricing adjustments, to account for this new AI stuff. New subscriptions saw the change at the end of January, and if you're renewing, it'll kick in mid-March. So basically, business starter, standard, plus the whole enterprise range. AI is just part of the package now. Then there's what they're doing for coders, Gemini Code Assist, which is part of Google Cloud. And they've got two flavors of that, standard and enterprise.
So, like, what is this AI coding thing actually doing for you? Does it just like write all your code or something?
Well, it's not quite that simple. But both versions, standard and enterprise, they offer a lot of the same core features, like code completion, it finishes your lines as you type. It can also generate entire code snippets, which is pretty wild. And there's a chat interface right in your IDE, so you can like talk a bit about your code, ask for help, things like that. And the really cool part is it understands your whole code base, so the suggestions are actually relevant to what you're working on, not just some generic stuff.
Okay, that actually sounds super helpful. But what makes the enterprise version like worth the extra money?
Well, enterprise is really built for like bigger teams, companies with more specific needs. You can customize it so the AI learns your coding style, how your company does things. And it integrates deeply with other Google Cloud services like BigQuery and Firebase, so you're getting AI assistants in those too. Plus, you get all the enterprise-grade security and stuff. And they actually had a promo price for enterprise until the end of March, so that might have swayed some people.
Okay, so that's workspace and cloud. But then there's like the hardcore AI stuff, right? Gemini Advanced?
All right, that's for those who want to go, all out. It's part of the Google One AI premium plan, so you're paying extra for the good stuff. And it gives you access to those really powerful models, the ones that are pushing the limits. Like they have Deep Research, which is this tool for analyzing massive amounts of information. Well, with Advanced, you can upload documents that are like 1,500 pages long.
Right.
It's insane. And you get early access to those experimental models like Gemini 2.0 Flash, which is the bleeding edge of what they're doing.
Right, because it's not just about raw power, it's about the features, the specific tools, right? Like
Yeah.
I was reading about Gemini Canvas, and it sounds like it's trying to change how we interact with AI.
Yeah, Canvas is super cool. Think of it as like a dynamic workspace right inside the Gemini app. It's on the web now for workspace, business, and education users. And they're working on a mobile version too. You can create documents, write code, all side by side. And the AI is there, giving you real-time feedback. Like it can suggest ways to improve your writing tone, help with formatting. With code, you can actually see live previews of how your HTML, React, or Python would render. It's Pretty wild.
So it's like you're brainstorming and the AI is right there with you, helping you build stuff out. That could be awesome for prototyping or even just like writing a blog post and having the AI make sure it sounds good.
Exactly. It's like having a co-pilot for your creativity, bouncing ideas back and forth. And then there's the Gemini thinking model, specifically the Gemini 2.0 Flash Thinking experimental version. This one's all about transparency, letting you see how the AI is actually thinking.
Okay, yeah, that's really important, right? Like understanding how the AI got to its conclusion, not just trusting it blindly.
Totally. The full thinking process, you can actually see it in Google AI Studio. But the goal is to eventually bring that kind of insight to all the tools. It just builds trust.
Right.
And they've made it way faster and more efficient with the recent upgrades. This thinking model is now like the foundation for a lot of stuff, like deep research and those personalized features. And for advanced users, they get this crazy 1 million token context window. That means it can remember and understand incredibly long and detailed prompts.
Wow, 1 million tokens, that's nuts. And it can also connect to other Google apps now, right? Like search, calendar, all that. It seems like they're trying to make it way more integrated, proactive even.
Absolutely. It's not just sitting there waiting for your questions. It can actually pull information from your other apps, anticipate your needs, and potentially help you manage those really complex tasks that span across your whole digital life. That's the future, right?
Okay, now let's talk about deep research, because this is the one that's a potential game changer for anyone who does any kind of research online. Seriously, this could save so much time.
Deep research is basically like having a team of researchers at your beck and call 24/7. You give it a topic, and it creates this like custom research plan, pulling from tons of sources online. Then it puts it all together into a comprehensive report with citations and everything, so you know it's legit. And the March update, they really leaned into that thinking model, so the insights are supposed to be even better now.
And this isn't just for those fancy advanced users anymore, is it? I heard they made it available for everyone now.
Yeah, everyone gets to try it now. Of course, advanced users get more requests per month, but everyone can at least see what it's all about. And you can ask follow-up questions, so it's not just a one and done thing. It can even give you an audio overview of the report, which is pretty cool if you're like on the go or just prefer listening.
All right, last one for Google, and this one's interesting. Notebook LM, which is now Notebook LM Plus in Workspace. So, like, what does this do? Does it just write my notes for me?
It's way more than that. It's like an AI researcher for all your own files. You upload stuff, Google Docs, PDFs, links, even YouTube videos, and it instantly understands all that content. Then you can ask it questions about those specific documents, and it pulls answers and references right from them. It can also create summaries, timelines, FAQs, even mind maps now, which is new as of March. And if you're on Workspace Business or Enterprise, you get the Plus version, which basically means more usage and some cool collaboration features.
Okay, so Google's been busy, that's for sure. Now, let's talk about the other big name, OpenAI and their Chat GPT. They've also got a bunch of different plans, right?
Yep, they've got a whole range. They've got the free tier, obviously, which gives you a taste of GPT-4o, their lighter model, and some web data features. But there are limits. How much you can use it, how much you can upload.
Mm.
Then there's Plus, which is probably the most popular. That's $20 a month. You get more usage, access to deep research, a preview of their more advanced GPT 4.5 model, and even some limited Sora access for video generation. And then they've got Pro for the really heavy users and Team and Enterprise plans for, well, teams and enterprises.
Right, and they also have a Canvas, just like Google. That's
Yeah.
basically the same idea.
It's similar, yeah, but with some key differences. OpenAI's Canvas is also a collaborative workspace for writing and coding, but it opens in a separate browser window, which some people might actually prefer. It's got this side-by-side view, so you can see your original content and the AI suggestions at the same time. And it's got some really useful shortcuts, like adjusting the reading level of your text, debugging code, translating stuff. There's even version control and the ability to run Python code right in the canvas. The interesting thing is it's available to everyone, even free users. But of course, the quality of the suggestions will depend on the underlying model you're using, which is tied to your subscription.
Okay, so both Google and OpenAI are going for this like integrated workspace thing. Makes sense, right? So what about OpenAI's deep research? How does that stack up against Google's version?
OpenAI's deep research is all about using web data, like Google's, but it relies on their O3 model, which is specifically built for this kind of research. It's basically an autonomous researcher scouring the web, reading everything it can find, and putting together comprehensive reports with citations. It's really good for digging into those niche topics, things you might not find easily just by Googling around. And since late February, it's available on all their paid plans. But how many research queries you can run per month depends on which plan you're on. It usually takes between 5 and 30 minutes to complete a query, and you can actually see its thought process in a sidebar, which is pretty cool. You can also attach files or images to give it more context, which is neat.
So it sounds like both are aiming for in-depth research, but OpenAI's is more focused on like exploring the web, while Google's is good for those massive documents you might already have.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It really depends on what kind of research you're doing, which one's going to be a better fit.
Okay, so what else has OpenAI been up to lately? They've been rolling out updates pretty constantly, right?
Oh yeah, constantly. In March, they released GPT 4.5, but only for enterprise and education users for now. They also added a new feature called Coding with Work with Apps for macOS, but again, only for those higher tier plans. And they integrated deep research into their compliance API, which is interesting. February was a big month because they made deep research available to all paid subscribers. They also released those O1 Pro and O3 Mini models for enterprise and education users, and they introduced Canvas sharing, which is a big deal for collaboration. January saw the launch of the Projects feature, which is basically a way to organize your chats, visual retrieval for PDFs for enterprise users, and they integrated Kansas into custom GPTs. They also spent a lot of time late last year improving the overall web experience, and back in November, they made some big improvements to the writing capabilities of GPT-4. So yeah, they're always working on something.
Okay, let's move on to Anthropic and their Claude models. They've got a couple ways to access those, right?
Yeah, you can use Claude through their own platform, Claude.ai, which has a web interface and mobile apps. They've got a free tier, of course, and then Pro, Team, and Enterprise plans. Pro gives you more usage, access to those more powerful models like Claude 3.7 Sonnet, and you get early access to new features. Then there's Team for collaboration and Enterprise for, well, big companies. They also have an API so developers can use their models directly, and Claude is available on those cloud platforms like Amazon Bedrock and Google Cloud's Vertex AI.
But the big news from Anthropic recently was the launch of Claude Web Search. That puts them in direct competition with Google and OpenAI now, right? Like giving you real-time information.
Absolutely. It was a much-needed addition. This web search, it lets Claude actually go out and search the internet to answer your questions. And it gives you citations so you can see where the information came from. It launched in March, but only for paid users in the US who are using the Claude 3.7 Sonnet model. They're planning to roll it out to everyone eventually, but for now, it's a bit limited. It's a game changer, though, because now Claude can handle those questions that need up-to-date information, like current events, market trends, things like that.
So yeah, it makes sense that they had to add that to stay competitive. What else has Anthropic been up to?
Well, March was a big month for them. They launched Claude 3.7 Sonnet, which they're saying is their smartest model yet. It's got this hybrid reasoning thing going on, which is supposed to make it even better at understanding complex tasks. It's available through their API and on those cloud platforms. Back in December, they added the ability to customize the style of Claude's responses so you can kind of make it more your own. And in November, they launched Claude A, which is focused on data insights and code execution. They also upgraded their 3.5 models, Sonnet and Haiku, with this beta feature for computer control, whatever that means. So they're basically pushing the boundaries of what their models can do, but also adding those practical features like web search that people actually need.
Okay, last but not least, Perplexity AI. They're the ones who are all about AI search, right?
Yep, that's their bread and butter. They've got this tiered subscription model, Standard, which is free, Professional, and then Enterprise. Professional is $20 a month per user, and it gives you stuff like data visualization so you can see the search results in a more visual way. They also have Perplexity Pro, which basically gives you unlimited deep research, which is their big selling point.
So deep research is clearly a big deal for them. How is theirs different from what Google and OpenAI are doing?
Perplexity's deep research is all about giving you in-depth answers to complex questions. It's a freemium tool, so you get some free queries, and if you want unlimited, you got to go pro. You type in your question, it goes out and does a ton of research, and then it presents the findings in a really organized way. What sets them apart is that they really focus on giving you clear citations, even in their standard search results, not just deep research. So you can always see where the information is coming from. Right now, it's just a web interface, but they're working on a mobile version.
And what about updates? They've been making some moves lately, haven't they?
Oh yeah, they've been busy. In March, they proposed an open source version of the TikTok algorithm, which got a lot of attention. They were also in talks for a huge funding round, somewhere between $500 million and $1 billion, which is crazy. And they partnered with SoftBank to resell their Enterprise Pro offering in Japan. On the technical side, they upgraded their sonar models, which are pretty important for their search, and they added API MCP support. February was when they announced their own AI browser, Comet, which is going to be interesting to see how that develops. They also launched the freemium Deep Research and integrated the DeepSeek AI model into their platform. And back in January, they tried to buy TikTok again, which didn't work out, and they launched their Sonar API. So they're definitely trying to expand, both in terms of features and their reach.
All right, so we've covered the big paid players, but what about the free alternatives? It's amazing how good some of those have gotten.
Right. Like the free options are seriously impressive now. DeepSeek is a great example. They went open source earlier this year with a 67 billion parameter model. That's huge. They traded on this massive data set of English and Chinese text, and it uses a mixture of experts architecture, which is basically like having different parts of the AI specialize in different things. It's super efficient, but also really powerful. It's got 128,000 token context window, which is huge, meaning it can remember a lot of information. It's really good at reasoning, math, coding, even beats GPT 3.5 in Chinese.
Yeah.
And the best part, it's free to use commercially. Even their API is way cheaper than GPT-4. They also have specialized models like DeepSeek Coder and DeepSeek R1, which is all about reasoning. That one's actually available on Amazon Bedrock now. So yeah, if you're looking for a free option, DeepSeek is definitely worth checking out.
So that's DeepSeek. What about Mistral AI? They're another European company, right? And they've got some open source stuff too.
Yeah. Mistral is interesting because they do both commercial and open source models. They're known for being really good at multiple languages, code generation, math, and logic. Their commercial models are pretty advanced with huge context windows. But their free model, Mistral Small 3.1, is also really impressive. They released that in March, and it's better at understanding text, images, all sorts of stuff. It's also got a bigger context window and is super fast. It actually beats models like Google's Gemma 3 and even OpenAI's GPT-4o Mini in some tests. And it's pretty lightweight, so you can run it on normal computers without needing a ton of power. They also have an API for developers. So yeah, Mistral is another great option, especially if you need something that works well in different languages.
It's crazy how good the free stuff is getting. What about Meta? They've got AI in all their apps now, right?
Right, Meta AI is built right into Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger, all of them. It's powered by their Llama models, and it's basically there to make using those apps more fun and interesting. You can ask it questions, get information, generate text, images, all that stuff. It can help you write captions, create personalized images, and they even have these fun features like Imagine Me that makes these cool avatars. It works in a bunch of languages and became available in more of Europe in March. It's not really a standalone LLM like DeepSeek or Mistral, but it's really accessible for a lot of people since it's right there in the apps they already use.
And then there's Apple doing their own thing as always. Their Apple Intelligence is all about integration with their operating systems, right?
Yeah, Apple's all about that seamless experience, so their AI is built right into iOS, iPadOS, and macOS. And they're big on privacy, so it's mostly processed on your device, not in the cloud. They've already got some cool features like Image Playground for creating images, Genmoji for personalized emojis, writing tools to help you write better, and visual intelligence for understanding what's in your images. They're working on even more, like making Siri way smarter and maybe even integrating it with ChatGPT, which would be huge. And their new M3 chip is supposed to make AI stuff run way faster. They've had some delays with Siri, and there was that whole lawsuit about some of their initial claims, but they're definitely pushing forward with integrating AI into everything they do. And it's free in the sense that, well, you've already paid for the operating system, so it just comes with it.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of options here. What are the big differences between the paid and free stuff, like in terms of quality, features, all that?
Well, generally the paid models, the top tier ones, they're just more powerful. They can reason better, handle more complex tasks, and they've got those bigger context windows so you can have longer, more nuanced conversations. And they have higher usage limits, which is important if you're using them professionally or just a lot. The features are also often more advanced, like those dedicated research tools and those integrated workspaces. They're usually better in the paid versions. But the free stuff is catching up fast. DeepSeek is awesome for coding and reasoning. It's got that huge context window. Mistral is great for multiple languages and different types of input like text and images. Meta AI is super convenient because it's right there in the apps you already use. And Apple Intelligence is all about making your Apple devices smarter and more helpful. So if you just need something for basic tasks or you're experimenting, the free options are great. But if you're doing professional work or you really need the best of the best, you'll probably want to go paid.
And what about the cost? Like, is it even worth paying for these things when there are so many good free options?
It really depends on what you need and how you're going to use it. If you're just messing around or you only need something for specific tasks, the free stuff might be perfect. But if you need something reliable, powerful, and you're using it for work or something serious, paying might be worth it. And sometimes those bundled services are a good deal, like Gemini with Google Workspace. If you're already paying for Workspace, getting all that AI stuff included might be worth it. It really comes down to what you're getting for your money. Like, how much time will it save you? How much better are the features? How well does it integrate with what you're already doing? Those are the questions you got to ask.
Right, and it's not just about the features, it's about like how people feel about these platforms, right? What's the vibe out there?
Yeah, overall, people seem pretty excited about all this. ChatGPT is still super popular, and people are always talking about the crazy things it can do. Claude got a lot of love for adding that web search feature, which was something people really wanted. Perplexity is making a name for itself as the AI search engine, and their API is getting some good buzz for being affordable and accurate. Of course, not everything is perfect. People are still talking about the limitations of these models, and there's always room for improvement. But the energy is definitely positive. People are excited to see what happens next, and the companies are definitely pushing the limits.
So basically, there's something for everyone now, whether you want to pay for all the bells and whistles or just dip your toes in with a free option.
Exactly. It's a really exciting time to be following this stuff. The key is to figure out what you need and then find the tool that fits. Pay attention to those bundled offerings, those key features like Canvas and deep research, and keep an eye on the updates because things are changing all the time.
And with that in mind, here's a final thought for you. We've seen how fast these models are evolving, and they're getting more and more specialized, right? Like there's AI for coding, for writing, for research, for specific apps and devices. So think about your own life, your work, your hobbies. What kind of AI assistant would be the most helpful for you? What would make your life easier, more productive, more fun? That's something to think about as we move further into this wild world of AI. Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.